This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie Tee? Welcome to the lockdown coverage, week number 10 in the National Football League. Wow. First of all, what a weekend of football. Going back to college yesterday, all the upsets and all of the wacky football that we saw on display on Saturday. Then you turn around, a lot of close ball games. The Carolina game was a crazy finish. So was New Orleans, and Philadelphia and Atlanta had drama. Redskins, Vikings, and all of these games. The second half of the games, you got, last time I checked, 20-20. Arizona and San Francisco. Phillip Rivers, 4 interceptions, including a game-winning pick 6 thrown in that game. Wow. And in this game, my goodness, what a football game. We're going to jump into this breakdown here in a second. But first, welcome to the Louie Tee Network. And as always, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. We're changing the game over here. I want you to be a part of that. So go ahead and hit that red subscription button and subscribe to the Louie Tee Network. Also, I'm on Twitter at InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. If you want to know when I'm doing a video, you want to know when I'm going live, go ahead and follow me on Twitter and turn on those notifications. That's your best way to keep in touch with what's going on here on the Louie Tee Network. And if you happen to be watching this while you're on Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment using the hashtag LouieTeeLive to have your comment read at the end of this breakdown. Also, I'm on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead and leave me a comment on Facebook as well. And like I said, I'm looking to change the game on Facebook as well. Start interacting there with Facebook Live and things of that nature. So go ahead, get ahead of the curve and like the Facebook page In the Lab Room. All of my social media platforms up above. If you're in the comment section on YouTube and you want to have your voice heard, make sure you use the hashtag LouieTeeLive to have your comment read at the end of this breakdown. That being said, let's jump into this phenomenal football game. We got a pleasure to watch this game. And for any Cowboys haters out there, they refuse to lose. This is a team that they're finding ways to win, and that's what the good teams in this league do. 8 straight for the Dallas Cowboys. This one was impressive on the road against what we think is a good Steelers football team, even though their record would suggest otherwise. That was a hell of a finish to this football game. Let's jump into likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe. And we start with the road team as we customarily do, that being the Dallas Cowboys. And let's talk about this game from a Cowboys perspective here. The likes in the first half. Really, this was a disjointed first half for the Cowboys. Thought they made a lot of mistakes, a ton of penalties, really stopped a lot of their drives. A lot of progress wasn't made because of the penalties. And so for me, the only like, and they really were struggling early on, the Steelers jumped them early, was that Ezekiel Elliott 82-yard screen for a touchdown was huge play in the game, especially at that point. You're down 12-0. You're struggling. You need a pick-me-up. And that was a huge play right there to get them right back into this game. Matter of fact, I think it might have been 12-3, I think. Don't quote me on that. But, yes, it was 12-3. That was a huge play. Cowboys were reeling. The Steelers had it going offensively. You could see that they needed a big play. And that play came at the right time for them. Great blocking down the field. And Ezekiel Elliott is a special athlete. We talked about this when he was drafted, about the difference maker he could be for this Dallas Cowboys football team. And to me, that's why they're 8-1, is because he is a member of this football team. If they make a different selection, if that's Jalen Ramsey, if that's Joey Bosa, if that's some other player, they're not 8-1 right now. But because they made the right selection, this guy has been phenomenal. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. But that was my only like in the first half of the Dallas Cowboys. Didn't think they did all of that well in the first half. I didn't think they did a lot of things wrong. I didn't think they did a lot of things well, though, in the first half. I just thought it was a disjointed first half from the standpoint of offensive fluidity with the penalties. And then defensively, I didn't think they were terrible. They just weren't great either. You go to the first half likes for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Anthony Chickillo forcing a fumble of Dak Prescott. Obviously, big play in the game. Got the Steelers jump-started in this game. and they ended up turning that into L.Bell touchdown grab. Beautiful throw, even better catch by L.Bell in the end zone. So that was a huge play to get them started off in this game. And then my other like in the first half is L.Bell himself. This is a guy that you saw him on full display in the first half of this game. Catching it, running it. This is what this guy brings to the table. That catch for a touchdown, phenomenal. He was a threat out of the backfield as a receiver in this game, more so than he was actual running back. But when they needed him to run the football, he did that in some crucial stretches of this game as well. L.Bell on my likes list. You know what he brings to the table. L.Bell, a big part of this Steelers offense when healthy and not suspended. We go to the dislikes for the first half of both teams, and we go to the Cowboys. And it's Dak's fumble, obviously, to get things going for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game. It's just one of those situations where he gets out of the pocket and you'd like to see him get rid of the football or just run, okay? It's a situation where you got to feel that defender coming, put the football away. He's trying to throw it. Chickalo does a great job of getting his hands on the football before he could get rid of the ball. And boom, just like that fumble, Steelers recover. It changes the tenor of the game early in the favor of the Steelers. And then the penalties. I talked about how the first half was sort of disjointed for the Cowboys. Thought they did a lot of good things. The screen was the biggest and the best of those good things, but they had a lot of penalties, offensively and some defensive penalties that I thought aided the Steelers, but also hurt them on offense, that killed some drives and really made it tough on them. Like I said, get any rhythm or flow or fluidity offensively. So the penalties were a problem. I think this was the most penalized the Cowboys have been all season long, and it started in the first half and it continued in the second half. You go to the Steelers and their first half dislikes. The two failed two-point conversions. This is a situation where the Steelers were just over-aggressive. And when it works, we all praise and laud Mike Tomlin. Oh, he's so gutsy. He's so this, he's so that. But when it doesn't work, it can backfire. And this is one of those games where maybe you don't need to go for 2 points. I mean, you're going up against a Cowboys team that can score. Maybe that was the rationale. Maybe we need to score a bunch of points this game. And so maybe we need to go for 2. But it backfired because they were chasing points the remainder of the game. And those 2-point conversions that they didn't convert on early in the game came back to haunt them. And they were chasing points, and they did not convert on any 2-point conversion in this game. And so I thought those were some huge misses early in this ball game. All the momentum that they had built, I thought those 2-point conversions kind of took some of the top off of that momentum and hurt them. And it really hurt them late in the game when they had to start, going after points that they had missed earlier in the football game. But the analytics show that going for 2 is a really good thing to do, and the Steelers just came up on the short end of the stick in this football game. Giving up the 82-yard screen is on the dislikes list. Look, make the Cowboys work for everything they get. Big plays in this league, they hurt you defensively. Okay, you're going to give up touchdowns. It's just going to happen. No defense is good enough to not give up, especially in a league that it's being played right now, the way the game is being played. The passing game is more prevalent than ever. You're going to give up touchdowns. But the key to defense in this league is to eliminate the big play. Make teams earn it, because it's so hard to go 13 plays, 75 yards for a touchdown without making a mistake, without having a holding penalty, without having a drop pass, without having a negative play. It's hard to go 75 yards the length of the field without making a mistake. But if you give up chunk plays, and that 82-yarder was a huge chunk, that's going to hurt you, because those are the types of plays that change ball games. And right there, that was a big, big, big miss on the part of this Steelers defense, giving up that. And again, you had the momentum up 12-3, and you had them backed up in their own side of the field, inside their own 20, and you give up that screen. Huge play for the Cowboys. Bad defense by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then missing a 55-yard field goal. I'm not going to kill Chris Boswell for this. Obviously, 55 yards, not easy. I remember a time when 50-yard field goals at Heinz Field was a no-no. Well, now you can make those. He had the leg, had the distance, didn't have the accuracy. You'd love to see him bang that one home. But again, I'm not going to beat a man up for a 55-yard attempt as you go into the halftime break. You go to the second half likes. You go to the Cowboys, and man, they did some damage in the second half of this football game. And really, a lot of their damage was done in the fourth quarter and in the latter stages of the fourth quarter. Lucky Whitehead with a huge punt return that kind of, I thought, again, the Cowboys were a little sluggish to start the second half. They gave up a field goal on the first possession defensively on a pass interference and a couple of big completions. And offensively, they still weren't in that rhythm, and they still were kind of sluggish. They weren't really doing the things that we've come accustomed to seeing the Cowboys do offensively. And then this Lucky Whitehead return happened, and then I thought that kind of jump-started their offense. Then you get the 3rd and 11 after the big return. to Des Bryant. You get a holding penalty that negates a nice little run on a 3rd and 1 that puts you in a situation where now it's 3rd and 11. And you're thinking, okay, this is a chance for the Steelers to get a stop, get off the field, and avoid giving up points in a situation where you're going to give up points after the 3rd and 1 run by Ezekiel Elliott. Now you're in a 3rd and long situation at midfield. You might be able to get away without giving up anything, and Des Bryant is able to get free. Great protection up front. That was the key to the game for me. The Steelers came with blitzes all game long. They just weren't able to hit home, and that was the difference. They weren't able to get pressure on Dak Prescott. And even when he was under duress, he found a way to escape and make plays. And this is one of those situations where he bought time. They tried to blitz. They didn't hit home. They left their corner out on an island one-on-one with Des Bryant, and he won that matchup. Bobbled the football, but was able to corral it and get in the end zone for a 50-yard touchdown. Again, another big play being given up by the Steelers defense. That's the story of this game. Big plays, and then you'll see it at the end of the game with the Zeke run for the touchdown and the capper. Big plays given up by the Steelers defense at the most inopportune times of the football game. That made it 23-18. Cowboys take the lead in the second half of the game. I thought Anthony Brown, he's on my likes list, the young corner, and I don't know if he finished the game. I don't recall seeing him out there. I started seeing number 23, and I couldn't figure out who he was. Tried to get a name on him. I couldn't, but I started to see some other guys towards the end of the game, but Anthony Brown, your rookie out of Purdue, was playing some ball. I thought he held up well against Antonio Brown for large stretches of this football game. Yeah, he had a pass interference that led to a field goal in the second half, but I thought that young fella showed up and played some good football for you for about 3 quarters. And again, you're going to need some unsung heroes on this football team because this defense is banged up. Saw Orlando Scandrick over on the bike trying to get that hamstring right. You're already down a couple of members of your secondary in Barry Church and Mo Claiborne. So you need guys to step up, and Anthony Brown, I thought, did a bang-up job at cornerback against Antonio Brown. You look at Antonio's numbers to finish up the game, you say, wait a minute, he killed the Cowboys, but I'll tell you, a lot of that came in the latter portion of this game. I thought Anthony Brown actually did a serviceable job being pushed into duty against one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in all of the National Football League. Second to final drive for the Cowboys is on my likes list. To take the football, move it down the field, 10 plays, 75 yards, huge face mask penalty there on the Steelers, or a personal foul penalty, by Ross Cockrell to really jumpstart. I thought that drive had a little bit of a kind of funny feel to it. And then I thought the big play there was the personal foul penalty on Ross Cockrell. I thought that got the Cowboys kind of into a rhythm, jump-started them, and they did the rest there. Ezekiel Elliott with a huge run to get into the end zone there. I was kind of arguing with my dad back and forth as to whether the Steelers allowed him to score that on purpose, because if I'm the Steelers, why not? I mean, I'd much rather have my offense out on the field with Ben Roethlisberger with 2 timeouts and 1 minute and 50 seconds left than to have my defense try to get a stop, which they haven't been able to do, and allow the Cowboys to get a first down and then be able to melt the clock down and kick a game-winning field goal from about 25 yards. I'd much rather have the football in the hands of Ben Roethlisberger with 2 timeouts and a chance to win. So I thought that actually looked like a team that was giving up and allowing a touchdown to be scored. We argued back and forth. It became a moot point after the Cowboys won the football game. But at that time, it looked like good strategy for me. I said, look, if you're going to win this game, if you're going to have a shot, your offense needs to be on the field, not your defense. They're not going to be what wins you this football game. It's going to be your offense. And so that was still a huge drive. And then, of course, obviously, the biggest of the second half, that final drive, you're talking 45, 50 seconds left on the clock, and the Cowboys drive it the length of the field, and another big penalty on the part of the Steelers with the face mask penalty by rookie Sean Davis. That's just a foolish play. Jason Witten has 2 defenders on his back. He's not going anywhere. And as a matter of fact, you could argue Witten needed to just go down. He was fighting for extra yardage that he wasn't going to get, and here comes a rookie making a rookie mistake, grabs Witten by the face mask, and actually the Steelers got away with the face mask earlier on the possession where Cole Beasley literally has his head exorcist style turned all the way around, and how they missed that call, don't ask me, but the football gods righted the wrong with the Witten face mask on Sean Davis, which set the Cowboys up. And then the next play was a huge Ezekiel Elliott run, or the next couple of plays, Cowboys have a chance to run it, and they part the Red Sea. Shazier gets knocked down on his ass, and they just open up a gaping hole, and Elliott takes it the distance. What a play. What a game for the Cowboys. What a finish. They just find ways to get it done. This team, they've been tested this season. They're battle tested. They find ways to get it done. I will say this. If there's one takeaway from this game in a negative connotation for the Cowboys, is that they finally were exposed defensively. This defense isn't very good. And yes, I know they have a ton of injuries, but this defense isn't good. Roethlisberger carved them up, over 400 yards passing through the air. Only 9 incompletions for Ben Roethlisberger in this game. He threw it a ton. I think he threw it 46 times. Only 9 incompletions carved up this Cowboys defense. So if there's one thing you could say that you may be able to take advantage of, is that the Cowboys are suspect on the defense, and we knew that. But they've been playing so well that you started to question, are they actually good on defense? The answer to that is no. They're not a good defense, but this offense is so good that they can overcome anything that their defense may put on their plate, and they did it again, and they showed you in this game just how good they are offensively. Dak Prescott with some huge throws late in this ball game. You go to the Steelers in their second half dislikes, or likes. We're on likes right now. The start to the second half, I thought they came out and they aired the football out. And even though it only resulted in a field goal, you throw it deep to Kobe Hamilton twice. He catches one. You get a pass interference on the other. You throw one to Antonio Brown. He barely doesn't get his feet in, and you have to settle for a field goal. I just thought they were a little bit more aggressive. They realized, okay, we got some opportunities to take some shots down the field. Let's do that. And I thought they opened up the second half doing that with a little bit of an aggressive tone, and I like that from the Steelers. The 3rd-and-1 stop by the Steelers defense, there weren't many of those in the fourth quarter, but they did stop the Cowboys on the 3rd-and-1. That set up some great field position for them. And then L.A.B. with a nice punt return, and that turned into a L.B touchdown run. And that gave the Steelers a lead at 24-23. And so you felt like, okay, Steelers are right here. They got a shot. Let's see what happens. The final drive for the Steelers, not the one where they threw it around a couple of times to Antonio Brown, but I'm talking about the actual drive where Ben fakes the spike. It's a thing of beauty. They went right down the field. It was masterful. He hits Jesse James on a seam route. He fakes the spike, hits Antonio Brown, hits L.B on a slant, beautifully run, and they were doing a lot of misdirection things, fake the wide receiver screen and leak out, and that's when he hit Jesse James. That drive was a thing of beauty. The Cowboys were confused and dazed. They had no idea what was coming at them, and they made it look easy, and he hits him with the fake Marino spike to A.B. in the end zone, and you're thinking, maybe the Steelers got him, but the whole time I'm sitting there with my dad, my sister, they're all Cowboys fans. The whole time we're all sitting there and we're saying, okay, they left a lot of time for this Cowboys football team, and if they don't get this 2-point conversion, Cowboys are going to win this game on a Dan Bailey field goal. And they said, nope, we'll do you one better. We'll score a touchdown and put this thing out of reach for good. And so the Cowboys took the football. We all know what happened on that ensuing drive. The Cowboys move it down. Like I said, Dak Prescott continuing to show why he's in the running for Rookie of the Year. If Ezekiel Elliott, who is now firmly in the MVP discussion after a 220-plus yard total yard performance, over 100 receiving, over 100 rushing. After this performance, and I thought he blocked his ass off in the passing game. There was some serious blocks that he put on Shazier, who was blitzing as a linebacker. He's in the discussion for MVP. He's already eclipsed 1,000 yards rushing on the season, and we've only played a half of the season. This guy is legit, folks. Zeke Elliott, also a big-time light for the Cowboys in this game. He was dynamic. And I'm not going to keep talking about this guy because I've been talking about him since he was at Ohio State, and I talked about the Cowboys potentially having a top 5 pick and not passing and not being able to pass. You guys know how I felt about this and what I thought the Cowboys should have done with that pick, and they did it. And I've been singing those praises forever, and you're seeing it come to fruition now. Let's get to the second half dislikes. And for the Cowboys, for me, it's just a missed 2-point conversion. You could argue that giving up that final drive was hurtful, and all the yards that they gave up defensively, as much as I would like to kill them for that, what the offense did, it overshadowed how bad the defense was, especially late in that football game. But make no mistake about it, the missed 2-point conversion was one of the few things they did wrong in this game. But the defense, if I had to zoom in on something, it'd be the defense. They gave up over 400 yards passing. L.B had almost 60 yards rushing, had a ton of yards receiving. He had some all-purpose yards in this game as well. They really hurt this Dallas Cowboys defensively in this game. And so if there's anything that I would point to, it would be the defense. But then again, there are so many guys out there that don't have any business being out there for the Cowboys that you can kind of give them a little bit of a pass, so to speak. But nonetheless, they found a way to get it done. And the credit needs to be given to this Cowboys football team as a whole. Special teams chipped in. Defense did just enough. Offense was spectacular. They get it done 35-30. You go to the Steelers and their second half dislikes. Wasting a second half timeout with 7:50 to go in the third quarter. You know how I am about second half timeouts. They're like precious jewels. You cannot waste them. They wasted one. I had a problem with that. It didn't hurt them necessarily late in this game, as they didn't really have to worry about the timeout situation because of the way they were able to move it down the field quickly and score. But you just don't want to put yourself in that position where you're missing a timeout at the end of the game. Cowboys had the luxury and the benefit of having all three of their timeouts, full complement at the end of this game, and that proved to be huge for them late in this ball game. Another missed two-point conversion in the second half. They missed two in the first half, missed another one in the second half. And look, that's what happens when you go for two and you don't get it. You start chasing points, and they never were able to recoup those points they missed in the first half. So I thought the Steelers really hurt themselves in this game. You lose this game by 5. You miss 3 two-point conversions. That's 6 points. Again, you kick the extra points. That's only 3 points, but then you put yourself in a position where a field goal might win you the game. So again, we could sit here and argue about that. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You didn't do enough to win. You had the lead late, and you weren't able to stop the Cowboys from scoring in less than a minute. Ross Cockrell with the personal foul penalty. Thought that was a huge penalty to jumpstart the Cowboys on that drive that we thought was going to be the game-winning drive that ultimately turned out to be their second-to-last drive, which resulted in a touchdown to take the lead late, to put the Steelers in a position where they had to score and take the lead. So I thought Cockrell, that was a foolish penalty. Literally, Lucky Whitehead was a full step out of bounds, and he decides to take a shot at him. Just not smart football there from Ross Cockrell. Sean Davis, probably the biggest penalty on either side of this game for either team, with the face mask penalty on Jason Witten. I thought the Steelers were still in a really good spot to force Dan Bailey to kick a deep field goal. After that, it would have been third down, and the Cowboys would have only been down to one timeout with about 15 seconds, something like that. That face mask penalty pretty much put them right in chip shot field goal range for Dan Bailey, and it forced the Steelers to have to sell out. And when they sold out, no one was in that back end. And once Ezekiel Elliott got to the second level, there was no one home, and he was able to gallop into the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. And then the final defensive drive, to just give up that touchdown that quickly in less than a minute in a situation where, look, you got to make them kick a field goal there. And if they make the field goal, they make the field goal. We've seen so many missed field goals in late game situations this season that you just got to make them kick a field goal. You cannot let them score a touchdown there on that final possession. If it's a chip shot field goal, let it be a chip. We've seen kickers miss from 30 yards and in. We've seen kickers miss from 40 and in with the game on the line. It's a different kick with pressure, with the game on the line. Make Dan Bailey kick that field goal. We've seen him miss in crucial clutch situations late in ball games. They didn't give that opportunity to the Cowboys or Dan Bailey. They allowed them to score the touchdown. That was backbreaking, to not be able to have someone get off a block and make a tackle and allow Ezekiel Elliott to scoot into the end zone and basically put this game away for the Dallas Cowboys. So with that said, let's read some of your comments, because this was one hell of a football game. Cowboys get it done. Win their 8th in a row. Will somebody stop these guys? They are running away with the NFC East at now 8-1 for the Steelers. This is a debilitating loss. This drops you not only a full game behind the Ravens, who already beat you once this season, but now you're under 500, and everybody's looking around at a team that most thought was going to be in the discussion for the AFC in terms of one of the best teams. Now you're looking around and saying, are you even good enough to make it to the postseason? A lot of questions, not enough answers in Pittsburgh right now. Let's take to some of your comments here. Captain Spartan 04 says, here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I will always love my Steelers no matter what. I don't care we lost at the end of the day. I'm still a fan. Okay. Victor Martinez says, best game of the season. It's up there. We've seen some good games this season, but that is high up on the list. See, Captain Spartan 04 says, I think I'm going to be scatting some flies. People who think Tomlin, everyone pretty much needs to be fired for the next couple of days. Yeah, that's probably going to be, and you meant to say swatting, that's probably going to be a topic of discussion in Pittsburgh, for a little while. I've been hearing little rumblings and grumblings, and I really don't want to hear it because I love Mike Tomlin as a head coach. But the 2-point conversions in this game are questionable, and that's something that people are going to nitpick at, definitely. RG3 hashtag smoking at 3 hashtag 1000 says, what if Dallas didn't have that O-line? What if your head was turned backwards and you could see forwards? Stone Levi says, what did you think of the officiating in this game? I thought it was okay. It wasn't horrible. We've seen way worse this season. They missed some calls, no doubt about it. That pass interference on Anthony Brown, it looked like pass interference initially, but then when you go back and watch it, not sure. They missed the face mask on Cole Beasley, obviously. I didn't think it was bad. I've seen way worse, trust me. This game wasn't poorly officiated. All right. Captain Spartan 4 says, of course we allowed him to get in on purpose, LOL. It seemed like it, but you can never tell in those situations. You just never know. Captain Spartan 4 also says, we are screwed once Ben retires, probably. No, probably. Unless you find another quarterback. You don't have another quarterback. You are in some serious trouble. Captain Spartan 04 says, I thought your sister was a Falcons fan. I have 2 sisters, not one. One's a Cowboys fan. One is a Falcons fan. All right. And moving right along. See what else we have here. And Captain Spartan 4 says, how did you have a good rush defense? Well, obviously, the Cowboys, this is the thing they've been doing all season. I don't really even know what your question is here, but I could just talk about the Cowboys have been making everyone's rush defense look bad this year. Even in teams like, everyone's going to talk about the Ravens rush defense next week because they've got the #1 rush defense. Well, so did the Packers when the Cowboys played them, and they ran all over the Green Bay Packers. This is what the Cowboys do. They take good defenses and make them look pedestrian because that offensive line is so good. Ezekiel Elliott is so good, and Dak Prescott is so good. So they take good defenses and make them look mediocre week in and week out. They're going to do the same thing to the Ravens next week. Everyone's going to talk about how good the Ravens are, how stout they are up front. And next week, the Cowboys are going to run the football down the Ravens' throat, and they're going to win that football game. And I think they're going to win it comfortably because the Ravens can't score points. This is what the Cowboys have been doing consistently all season long. Argenis Luguardo says, are the Giants the only threat to the Cowboys? No. I think Redskins and the Giants are a threat. The Giants have the only thing that no one else has this year over the Cowboys, and that's a win. And they have it in Dallas. So the Giants right now, if they can win on Monday night versus Cincinnati, they would be the biggest threat, but not the only threat to the Cowboys. The Redskins still have the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and I think the Redskins have a legit shot at beating the Cowboys on Thanksgiving because the one thing the Cowboys don't do well, the Redskins do well, and if you say it vice versa, because the Redskins don't stop the run very well, even though they did a better job today, they don't stop the run very well. Cowboys run it the best in the league, so it's going to be fun to see that matchup, but that's still 2 weeks down the road. Some things have to happen in order for the Redskins to get back in the race, whereas with the Giants, they still got one more matchup, and they just need the Cowboys to slip up once for them to have a shot, but they got to keep winning games, and we don't know what the Giants are right now, so it's still hard to really say for sure. And with that being said, those are all the comments that I see. I'll check Twitter quickly to see if you guys have anything to say on Twitter before we get out of here. And there are no tweets. I will check my mentions quickly, and then I'll get out of here. What a game. What a game. And there are some tweets here with the mentions. Let's see. At T Littles says, if you had to pick an MVP between Dak and Zeke, who would it be? It would be Zeke. I mean, for as good as Dak has played, without Zeke Elliott, this team probably loses 3 more games than what they've lost this season. They're probably sitting at 5-4 right now without Zeke Elliott and his performances. Even though Dak has been phenomenal, the reason Dak has been so successful is because of the run game. And I think even if you took Dak out of the lineup and inserted fill in the blank, any of those bums you had last year at quarterback, Castle and Kellen Moore or any of those guys, Brandon Whedon, you insert any of those bums, and even with the way Zeke is playing, you still probably are over 500 And that's saying a lot because those quarterbacks were horrible last year. You saw it firsthand. So I still think the Cowboys are 5-4 with any of those bumps from last year. So what I basically is saying is Dak Prescott is playing well. Don't want to take anything from him. He's done some outstanding things this year. And without him, they're not 8-1. But if you take Dak off of this football team, I don't know if they're over 500. He's been that good and that important to because we see this defense, while it's okay, it's not great. We see this defense can be exposed, but because you can run the football and can control the clock, a la 2014 when this team was 12-4 and won the division and looked like one of the best teams in the league, it's going to allow you to get away with some things defensively. And so I think Zeke Elliott right now is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, the MVP of this Cowboys football team. And you could argue the MVP of the entire National Football League. We'll check Twitter once more. And that's going to do it for this installment of Lockdown Coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me for Sunday Night Football overtime. That should be a dandy. Seattle Seahawks on the road taking on the New England Patriots. Come back here. You know where to find me to break it all down when it is all said and done. Steelers drop a heartbreaker. Cowboys are unstoppable right now. 8 straight for the boys with the stars on the side of their helmets as they go to 8-1, the best mark in all of the National Football League. Patriots have a chance to match that 8-1 start to the season with their game tonight. We'll see if they can do that. Steelers dropped to 4-5, and they are reeling right now, are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Meanwhile, contrast of two teams, Cowboys are rolling right now as they go to 8-1 on the season with the 35-30 win in dramatic fashion over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hell of a football game. I'll see you later on tonight for Sunday Night Football overtime. Have a good one. Enjoy the game. I'll see you a little bit later on tonight.